Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm doing a really interesting series called Replacement Singers, Who Did It Better? Next up is Rainbow. But if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be really cool. I have a singing course. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else for you guys wanting or interested in learning how to sing or wanting to get really good at singing. You can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. Kind of an arrogant thing, but it's actually true. We can do this. And also, I have a free singing forum over there with about 25,000 singers all discussing how to get great at singing. So without much further ado, I'm going to dive right in. Now, I'm covering, a lot of the same singers from before, but in a different kind of context because they all happen to come from the same band. So these are the quintessential examples of the guys that really set the stage for rock and roll history for great rock singing. Now, first up we know is Ronnie James Dio. We know that Ronnie was replaced by Graham Bonnet. We know that Graham Bonnet was replaced by Joe Lynn Turner. We know Joe Lynn Turner was replaced by Doogie White. We know that Doogie was replaced later by Ronnie Romero. And we're going to go through all these here right now, but I'm just going to dive into Ronnie first. Here we go. Scary good. Now, it's interesting. You're going, like, Ken, you said you're going to do, Rainbow, and that's a Deep Purple song. Yes, it is. That was a Deep Purple song that was actually originally sung by David Coverdale with some backgrounds with Glenn Hughes back and forth. And so Ronnie's stepping in. So Richie's obviously pulling from the Deep Purple area and bringing it into Rainbow, but this is actually a Rainbow concert. Now, I did a version of this myself. I'll put it in the description. You can see how I did. It's called Mistreated. But this is Rainbow doing Mistreated with Ronnie James Dio on vocals. I want to point out one more thing. I want to back this up just a little bit because it's worthy. We came off of, and I'm not sure when these are going to release, but we came off of doing Black Sabbath, and we had everything from the Mob Rules to whatever of Dio singing in Black Sabbath early on, right after Ozzy Osbourne. And he was really throaty and really growly in his sound. And here you can already see he's maturated to open throat to, I've been mistreated. Right, so he's really open on the sound, and he's not Rainbow. He's not real girthy and real closed and constricted in the sound. He's really open on the sound. Check this out. I have this saying in Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, and the saying is this: all vowel sounds stem from it's the la, like the doctor wants to see your tonsils, literally in the back of your throat. The more we can drop the tongue to the base of the jaw, the greater space that we create for the back of the throat, and the least constriction in the throat, okay? So what we learn at Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy is we learn to train the throat to stay open because all vowel sounds stem from it's the la, with a couple of small exceptions. So I want to point this out because a lot of people go, well, it's just he's born with this, it's a miracle, wow. Well, no, he wasn't. Let me say it again, he wasn't. He learned the sound, and also he talked about his, playing trumpet early on and listening to Mario Lanza. We've talked about this a lot, how that really helped him, the operatic side of singing into his metal singing. Now, this is really, really important because Mario Lanza uses bel canto appoggio, which is open throat technique. So we're going to listen again to this vowel, and I want to show you something that's very important for you guys wanting to learn how to do this. Check this out. Actually, let me back this up. I'm going to go to mind. Here we go. Back it up a little farther. Sorry about that. He goes, mine, right? Two things to note about that. It's open throat technique. He's not going, mine. It's ma. Mind, right? And he's not going, mind. Now, Glenn Hughes would probably do that, and Coverdale would probably do that. Harder to do that sound. It's a fun sound, and we do it for effects. Mind! We do that for effect. But this open throat sound allows us to very carefully and subtly morph from the ah vowel into other vowels with very little exchange. What do I mean by little exchange? Small exchanges from ah, e, ah, and o. Hi, right? And so as we go through these vowels, we subtly go from one vowel to another. They're not e, o, ooh, right? Because it's too hard in the vocal tract. So when you really listen to him sing, he doesn't do that. Everything is based off the ah vowel with small variations from ah to e, ooh, right? So what we do at Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy is we train these vowels to work in this way so that these subtle exchanges between the vowels are small, and we're able to maintain good open throat vocal tract shaping to give us the ability to go up and down a range without getting so constricted in the throat, even if we're singing heavy like this, okay? Now we want to start off singing clean first to get that feeling and the strength and build muscle memory and all, the endurance and all that first, and then we can start to lean into that sound to get the distortion to accommodate this. But I wanted to point this out along the way because I promise this will be tutorials and some lessons and whatnot, so that's very important to note. Lonely! Here it's like all ah, right? Check it out. Now, did you notice how effortless that note was? I'm gonna back this up again, and I'm sorry if you guys don't, you can turn off if you're not interested in learning about the singing part of this, but listen to how fluid and open, and even though he's distorting the sound. Now this is important because it's called glottal compression. I've heard other people say, hey Ken, have you ever heard of glottal compression? I go, yeah, I didn't coin the phrase because it's an old bel canto term, but I've been talking about it on YouTube for 15 years, 13 years now, and other people say, have you heard it? Yeah, I talked about it first, and now other people talk about it. They still don't know how to do it. I'm showing you how to do it. Anyway, so glottal compression is the idea of literally holding the breath and cutting air back in the glottis. This is important. However, when people do it, they do it like this, and they constrict in the throat, but we can't have that. So what we do is we compress air in the lung. We build and maintain good open throat vowel technique first. So, yeah! Right? So that when we go to compress and lean into that sound by cutting back the air. Now, why do we cut back the air? Because the overuse of air is the arch enemy to the voice. And he's very deceiving because it makes it sound like he's shouting at you this whole time when he's actually compressing his air, and he's letting his diaphragm support the sound, and he's opening up to the ah vowel, the trained open throat ah vowel that he's able to hold and keep open rather than constricting in the throat, letting harmonic resonance or the distortion resonate and get bigger and bigger, this beautiful harmonic sound. And he got better at it over the years. You notice his voice got bigger, more free, more open. And then he's able to stick these notes that were the placement of the vowel. There's different vowel modifications that we do through different vowels as we go up and down a scale. We modify the vowel to fit what part of the note, I had a guitar here, what part of the scale that we're in, and you can clearly hear him do it here. Check it out. Sorry guys, I have a very little window on how I can do this. Let me go back. Here we go. Right here. if I were to show you that note, it's a C sharp, very high note, fully belted chest sound. Now I do this all the time. I sing these notes all the time. I show you this because most people would look at this and go, what note is that? Here's the tenor high C. So when Pavarotti sings, Avvincero, and he sings it, that's that note. He's singing a note above that, distorted and heavy and as open as can be and crystal clear because he has a true command of good open throat technique. Very, very important. Good intonation, pitch. By the way, another thing I want to point out, again, these are subtleties, guys. For you singers out there, I promise you, this has taken me an entire lifetime to put all this together. I've studied under some of the world's greatest vocal coaches, and they, even at the highest levels, they disagree in so many different things. I want to back this up one more time. Hopefully I'll get it to get on spot here. I don't have to listen to too much. Not that we don't want to listen to too much Ronnie, but what is interesting is Kill the King, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't go like lid up this high. He doesn't go king. He goes ka, king, and it's ka, not king. It's ka, right? And he's in an sound. The reason I point this out is this is precisely what I'm talking about vowel exchanges or modifying a vowel when you go up top to be able to open the throat to more of an open sound to create this open sounding space and not stricture or constrict the throat in such a way that you can't move around with other vowels up top. Listen really closely to this. This is golden, guys. King! Hear that instead of king! It's king! Right? But it's really interesting. There's the Okay, so now we're into Graham Bonnet. And, you know, I couldn't get really hardly any good footage of Graham. And Graham is a great singer. And I think this video does him an injustice. But it was all I could really find. But I can say some good things about it, but I've also got to point out some things that are not so good. We just came off a deal. Perfect intonation, perfect singing, open throat, effortless sound, very fluid in his sound. Here's Graham. Cool. To me, it's a lot more shouty. It's a lot more forced. He is hitting the notes. He's cutting them. You know, he's kind of being very staccato on them and shortening the phrases and stuff because they're harder to sing. You did hear one vibrato note where he had some good open throat for a second on just now. You can back it up later if you want to listen to it, which was cool. But for me, it's not as good as Ronnie in that sense, but he has his thing. I mean, you know, since you've been gone, and some of the other songs that he's done, really good Rainbow stuff, very commercial. In fact, I think that's some of the biggest commercial success Rainbow's ever had, above Ronnie even. So there's a lot to be said for that in a commercial setting. I think he sings commercial songs better than Ronnie. So there is that element. So you've got to take the whole and not just one component and say, oh, Ronnie's more fluid and open, bigger, Ronnie's better, you know, so Graham's, you know, not as good, whatever. It's just not fair to do that because Graham had more success than Ronnie did in as far as a record sales and radio airplay stuff and so forth. So now, I want to point something else out. The amount of strength required to sing the way he's singing is actually probably about 20% more strength, overall strength, from a street shouty kind of standpoint than the way Ronnie was constricting his air and actually compressing and saving and conserving the air and singing more legato with more open throat phrases that were longer, which is what I call contiguous phrase singing, where you connect all your words together instead of singing real staccato like this. This is actually harder to do, and it's not as accurate, and over time you're not going to be able to finish 12, 13, 14 songs like this. You're going to do 3, 4, 5 songs and start to really fatigue after a while. Still really good. Now, we move into Joe Lynn Turner, and also there was a lot of commercial success, Street of Dreams and whatnot we're going to hear. Since You Began, the other song was the Graham. By the way, Graham Bonnet's tone is really unique. I have to also compliment him on that, because he came in with such a unique kind of sound. Very people, or maybe no one, could really reduplicate that sound, and a lot of people can. Not a lot. Let me say this again. It's maybe easier to reduplicate sort of the kind of Dio tones and the open throat tones compared to Graham Bonnet's uniqueness in his sound. Now, Joe Lynn Turner was really smooth. He was a different kind of singer. He was a lot more velvety in his sound. And let's just take a listen. I'll explain it along the way. Here we go.
About you and me and what's in between. So many changes, so many lives.
Really beautiful sound.
Try to run, try to hide from everything that I feel inside, but I can't escape you. Oh, your frozen eyes. So taking the darkness, fading out of sight. Love will seem more like a thief in the night. Start
I thought I knew you so well. Excuse me, I have a little water in my throat. I thought I knew you so well. But he's real fluid and really open on the sound. Really pretty sound. So from a commercial standpoint, Joe Lynn Turner, I like his voice a lot better than Dio's in some ways, just from his gentleness and his approach, still being a tough rock singer, good intonation, flawless tone, great pitch, great approach to that, a little more on the bluesy side. I actually love the blues, myself. So pretty good stuff, man. Good vibrato. Okay, so again, what was the criteria, guys? Let's remember the criteria. Did he contribute significantly to the band creatively? Absolutely. Did he bring the band up a notch? I don't know that he brought the band up a notch in that kind of way. He was more of a lateral, bringing the band up a notch, going this way rather than this way. Not necessarily in a virtuosity kind of way, but certainly in a commercial kind of way and a melodic way. Absolutely, he did. Absolutely.
I was hoping won't make it right, but you are so distant, so far away.
And it's kind of weird because the instrumentation, the way this was mixed, his vocal is so raw and out front, and it's kind of thin because, it's almost clubby sounding compared to big arena stuff that we heard. Maybe not so much of the Graham Bonnet thing, but the Dio stuff was a lot more arena sounding. So this sounds more like a small venue. So again, these recordings are not always fair in the way we're grading this stuff. So.
Your words like ice fall on the ground, breaking the silence without a sound.
Cool, let's move on. See, I've got some other. Here, check this out. It almost sounds like a smooth Coverdale, like an early Coverdale kind of sound, I think, personally. So I want to go to, let's see here. There's a couple more tunes, some faster stuff here. Back, moving on here. Here we go. Whoops. Good tone.
You got to stay loose, baby, but you gotta be tough. You get knocked down, you got back up again. 'Cause I'll never give up and I'll never give in.
Okay, now, I want to point out one more thing that you guys may or may not have thought about Joe Lynn Turner. He has 3 kind of harmonic tones to his voice, where it's not really one-dimensional. Like Graham's is very brassy and pointed. Dio has a lot of harmonic tone, but it comes more from a distorted sound. His comes more from a finesseful, warm sound. So he's got a little bit of like a Lou Graham kind of tone in his voice. It's just girthier and a little thicker, but it has a lot of that, when Lou sings lower especially, a lot of that Lou Graham kind of sound with his own very, like you probably wouldn't even have thought of that until I said it, but then you could really hear it. Like listen right here real close, check it out.
You get knocked down, you got back up again.
Couldn't you hear Lou singing that?
'Cause I'll never give up and I'll never give in.
Even the phrasing.
So strong, all I'm gonna do is turn it on. Never get my
The difference is his vibrato is yeah, right? It's bigger and wider, whereas Lou's would be yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a faster vibrato, and Lou has a lot more nasality in his sound and a lot more mask. He brings the sound to the front of the face, and his is more girthy and warm on the outside.
nothing's gonna stop it. Nothing ever will. I got power.
Cool. Now I'm gonna move on to Doogie here. I have a lot more footage, but I didn't want to make these so long that you guys don't want to follow along. I love this stuff so much that it was so cool and so fun. Okay, let's see here. Going fast forward one more time. Here we go. Here's Doogie. That I just got in the moment. I'm just enjoying these guys so much because they're so good.
Tales of witches' law, the answer lies through that door. All who never want some more is calling for you now. Through dark and corridor, run, but you cannot break free.
Now, this is going to be an odd thing to say, but I don't know if you know Steve Balsamo, but Steve Balsamo played Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar. And I want you guys, if you get a chance, to go watch his version of Gethsemane. Steve Balsamo was his name. He was one of the original Jesus Christ Superstar guys. And Doogie reminds me of that. And the reason I think it's interesting is because, as you know, Ian Gillan was also in Jesus Christ Superstar. So it will blow your mind when you hear Steve Balsamo's version of Gethsemane. And Doogie kind of reminds me of that kind of singer. So it's almost sort of a rock opera Broadway singer guy singing, here in Rainbow, but they're all kind of in the same camp. And so I find that really interesting. But go back and check me out on that. He's tougher in his sound than Steve is. And I think Steve could be tougher in his sound, but was fitting the role of Jesus Christ Superstar, so he had to accommodate being, over accentuating the words for Broadway and stuff like that. So I never got him here to hear him sing Hall of the Mountain King or anything like that. So, but okay, now Ronnie Romero. It kind of grieves me. And I have to say this for what it is. And I'm going to get some hate. Bring it on. Ronnie is an incredible Chilean vocalist, just vocalist period from Chile. And it's really a bummer because it reminds me when John Corabi stepped into Motley Crue and never really got the chance to shine as the great singer that he was, because grunge had come in and some of the songs weren't real Motley Crue, so the Motley Crue fans maybe didn't embrace it in the same kind of way. And, you know, Vince Neil came back in and whatever. John Corabi never got the shot. Now, Ronnie's getting the shot, but it's so sleepy and the band is so tired. Ronnie's literally carrying the entire band. You got Richie Blackmore, all these great players and stuff. But I wanna say that he is an incredible vocalist, and he's not really getting to shine because there's nothing kicking in the butt, you know, a band with a lot of energy. Let me show you what
There's no sun in the shadow of the whistle. See how we play, why it's like the
And again, I'm gonna be brutal. I'm just gonna be brutal. This mix, even though it's a massive arena, I don't even know who mixed it. It sounds like it was mixed for Sesame Street or something. It's so neutered and so unexciting, you know, and just so lackluster that you can't really tell how great Ronnie is in this, you know. It's a shame. So good.
It's a fall, it's a fall, it's a fall.
By the way, there's that open throat, right? But I'm like, you know, the band's playing. And then Ronnie sings. Ronnie sings, right? I mean, literally, right?
When do we leave?
Killer tone.
Yes, I believe.
He kind of has a little bit of Ray Gillen in his sound, too, if you really listen to it, man.
In the rain.
Little Dio, little Ray Gillen, little him, like, good stuff.
Just to see him fly. Too many died. We built the tower of stone without flesh and bone. Just to see him fly. But don't know why. All eyes see the figure of the whistle.
See what I mean? I mean, it's just like and it could be just this performance. Maybe there's other ones, guys. If you know some other stuff, you could put it in the comment sections. I'm literally just falling asleep with one of my favorite bands of all time, going, "This is terrible." And Ronnie's the only guy pulling it across the finish line.
We climb to the top of the wall. There's no sound as it falls. Instead of rising, time standing still. There's a blood in the sand. Oh, I see.
You know, it's like the old man club singing. So I've got a couple more things here. We'll close it out with this, but good stuff from Ronnie.
In the heat of the rain.
Look at that. In the heat of the rain. He's got that nice open throat and nice bright tone. Good. By the way, there's a term called chiaro oscuro. It's an Italian term for having a brightness in the center or clarity of brightness in the center with warmth around the sound. Ultimately, that's where we want to be as a vocalist, and that is certainly Ronnie right here.
Just to see him fly. Too many died. We built the tower of stone without flesh and bone. Just to see him fly. But the wine and on rain.
I mean, Ronnie's just he's the only guy pulling it across the finish line. I think Rainbow sucked as a band, and the sound engineer sucked. Just there was no energy, no life in it, and the only guy bringing energy to the table is Ronnie. So 2 thumbs up for Ronnie. Real tough call, man, because like I said, I don't think that it was fair to the frame that we're putting Ronnie in that thing. I know he's sung for other bands too, so you can check out some of the other groups that he's in. But anyway, gang, hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed doing it. I've got a few more of these coming your way, and I want you guys definitely stick around and check out my next video.